Thanks for joining me today. You've negotiated in many different markets, and today I'd like to talk about Brazil. What has your experience been like negotiating with Brazilian counterparts?
Well, I should mention that Brazil is very dynamic and very personal. Negotiations rarely start with business. I remember my first meeting in Sao Paulo. We talked about family, soccer, and food for almost an hour before anyone opened a laptop. Well, at first I thought we were wasting time, but I soon realized that building trust comes first. You see, if people don't feel comfortable with you personally, the deal won't move forward.
So it's very relationship oriented.
Indeed, extremely. And even small rituals matter. For example, you'll almost always be offered a cafezinho, that's a tiny, strong coffee, when you arrive. It sounds trivial, but it's actually a sign of hospitality. I learned quickly never to refuse the first one. Accepting it is like a micro handshake. It's the moment the meeting really begins.
That's interesting. And does business often happen outside the office too?
Yes, all the time. A lot of real decisions happen over long lunches or dinners. I've had so-called quick lunches that lasted 3 hours, but those lunches were where agreements were actually shaped. You see, if you rush back to work, it can look like you're not interested in the relationship.
How would you describe the communication style?
It's high context and expressive. People are warm, talkative, and quite emotional. They may avoid saying no directly to keep things positive. You have to pay attention to tone and body language, and there's more physical proximity too. People stand closer, touch your arm or shoulder, maintain strong eye contact. If you step back, it can seem cold or distant.
What about time and meeting structure?
Well, time is more flexible than in very structured cultures, and meetings don't always follow a strict agenda, and several topics might be discussed at once. It can feel a bit chaotic, but relationships often matter more than schedules. It's definitely more polychronic.
So, we often hear about something called jeitinho brasileiro. Not sure if that's how it's pronounced. But does that show up in negotiations?
Yes, all the time. Jeitinho is the art of finding a creative workaround. If a rule or bureaucracy blocks you, Brazilians rarely just say it's impossible. They look for another path. I remember one deal that got stuck because of an import regulation. Instead of giving up, our local partner found an alternative structure that solved the problem. It wasn't textbook, but it worked perfectly.
That sounds helpful, but are there also challenges?
Definitely. Brazil has what people call Custo Brasil. That basically means a lot of legal and tax complexity. You often spend as much time discussing regulations and paperwork as the product itself. Without a local lawyer or accountant, it's very hard to move forward, and enthusiasm alone won't save the deal.
How are decisions usually made?
Well, there's usually a clear hierarchy. Senior leaders make the final call, and access to them often depends on who you know. In several negotiations, nothing happened until a trusted local partner introduced us. Those networks, that confiança, are essential. Without local representation, it's tough to close big deals.
Finally, what advice would you give to someone negotiating in Brazil for the first time?
Invest time in relationships, be warm and patient, accept the coffee, and don't rush the process. Expect flexibility, but also prepare for legal complexity, and work with a strong local partner. If people trust you and you adapt to the system, negotiating in Brazil can be incredibly rewarding.
Good. Great insights. Thanks very much for your time.